Denmark against Scotland, right? So I said this before about Scotland-sized countries. Some of them don't qualify for World Cups for ages, and one of the
Yeah.
reasons I love the 48 team format, or I love it, but I don't have an issue with it,
Yeah.
is that it gives more storylines, more opportunities for countries to be a part of it. And look, Scotland might have qualified anyway. Let's be clear on this. But what was served up in terms of drama? Scotland against Denmark at Hampden. Scotland needing a win. Denmark could do with a draw. Um, and all of this, an improbable twist because obviously of the Belarus result earlier in the week, which nobody saw coming. And they get it done. Scott McTominay overhead kick.
Everything. He had everything in that game. Really, really everything. The twist and upset, red card. That was not really a red card. Let's be honest here. There's no way that Christensen should get sent off, and I think everybody knew it, including John McGinn. But he played for it.
You gonna call John McGinn a cheat?
The referee? No. I mean, he was clever. The referee was stupid, and the poor. It was a poor decision, unless he was compensating for the penalty that I thought for Denmark was a really harsh penalty to give against Robertson and Scotland. But we had 1-0 and 1-1 and then 2-1 and 2-2 and then 3-2 and 4-2. The overhead kick by McTominay, you mentioned the incredible goal from Tierney on a really bad clearance by Hulman. Maybe the goal, even more than the overhead kick, I prefer the McLean lob from 50 yards because...
I know you would. So I was thinking, and maybe it's just a different mental thing. When he gets... Okay, just to set the scene. It's deep in injury time. Scotland are 3-2 up. If Denmark equalize, then Denmark are through, right? And there's a turnover because Denmark are attacking with 10 men. He has the ball in the middle pitch. And I'm thinking to myself, easy. You just stroll over into the corner, like Shea Adams did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And just wait. You just wait for the foul, right? You eat up the clock.
Yeah.
What does this guy do? He shoots from the halfway line like he's freaking David Beckham.
The guy didn't start. He came on after the Gannon Dock injury. After 15 minutes or so, he ran like his socks off through the whole game. That's all he did, was running, covering, bridging gaps, everything, and how he finds the energy still. And I know for those players to do a 50-yard lob is not that difficult, really. But to have the lucidity.
To do it with the lucidity, you were going to say.
Yeah,
right?
at that
photographs
time.
it perfectly. To do it in those circumstances at that time, when you know that the logical, conservative thing to do is take the ball into the corner.
That's why I prefer that than the McTominay goal, which is a great goal. Maybe lacks a little bit of aerial, flow to it, but that's just me being really picky. Incredible from Scotland. I don't think they were very good in this game, and Denmark are a much better team, to be fair. And we still expect Denmark to go through in the playoffs. But what a story. 28 years after the 1998 World Cup, the last one, Craig Burley's Scotland, obviously.
Yes, and then he dyed his hair blonde and got sent off.
Of course, yeah, and they killed. It's great for them.
Now, you just tell me honestly, obviously, Italy are in the playoffs, as we've been over. We can kind of claim some of the Scotland team, right? Considering that Scott McTominay plays in Italy, Billy Gilmore plays in Italy, Lewis Ferguson, who, if he's fit, is I mean, for me, he is the best out of that entire bunch. Shea Adams, of course. The other guy, Lennon, who's it?
Miller,
Lennon Miller. So...
yeah, I think so. Thanks to Serie
Thanks to Serie and Belarus.
They've improved.
But more broadly on this, we cover the club game week in, week out. We love the club game. We get the sense that we lose momentum, especially in autumn, right? When we've got breaks in September, October, November. I mean, that's going to change in the future. And then we get stuff like this where we're reminded about, man, this is pretty special. And this gives us levels of emotion that I don't know that the club game can give us in such a universal way.
Yeah, I agree, because it's not just the Scotland-Denmark game, but there was a lot to play for between Wales and North Macedonia. Okay, it's a different level. I know it's not like a City, Barcelona, Champions League, semi-final, final, going all the way to the wire. But still, everywhere you had something to play for almost, which I think is great.
And the big thing, if it's City, Barcelona, you know that in a year or two, they may well be back in the semi-finals. You know that these trains don't come around often for many of these nations. Jules, there's this, I think, incredible dichotomy about World Cups, and this applies to Scotland and Denmark too.
Yeah.
In the sense that getting to the World Cup for many of these countries is an achievement. I mean, you can almost, certainly in Europe, you might say that there may be 12 countries for whom not getting to the World Cup is a failure.
Yeah.
So when they qualify, it's a relief. And then there's another group of countries for whom getting to a World Cup, maybe not even 12, maybe actually 8.
Maybe 8, yeah.
Eight's probably more appropriate. And then for the others, getting the World Cup is an achievement. It's something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
When England beat Serbia, I don't even remember if they celebrated the win or celebrated, we've qualified. I'm like, yeah, bros, you won 7 in a row. Like at that point, like you knew it was going to happen, right? That's part of what makes this, I think what makes this journey memorable is that these countries remember the qualifiers.
Yeah.
And then they get to the World Cup. And once you're there, because of the nature of tournament football, anything can happen. Then you either develop great memories or maybe you suffer heroic losses later in the competitions. And I say this not to say that a smaller country can't win the World Cup. Logically, it should happen. It just hasn't happened yet. We've seen it in the Euros with Greece, obviously. But what I want to get to is what would make a good World Cup for Scotland or for Denmark? What do we think that they can realistically achieve?
I mean, for Scotland, we saw in the last 2 Euros that even coming out of the group is, not easy. This time there's more teams, 48 teams, so you're going to play a last 32 rounds. So top and second will qualify, and then the best third teams of those groups. So it's quite difficult actually not to go through to the next round from the group stage. It will depend a lot on the draw, but there will be a maximum of 2 European teams anyway in your group. So Scotland might be okay with the draw. So last 32 is good. I think this is a great experience for all those. I mean, it's a dream come true for a lot of players.
You say maximum of 2 European teams, but then you may
you might
end
get
up with Brazil and Ghana as the other 2, and then you're like, oh, gee, and Germany. This is fun.
No, for sure. But if with a bit of luck, it might not be a group that is too difficult for Scotland to get out from. I think that would be great. I think the more you can get through for those players in terms of experience, for Steve Clarke as a head coach, for all those fans that are going to arrive in thousands in the US, Mexico, and Canada, wherever Scotland are playing, would be great. It would be great. I think when you grow up playing football and want to be a pro, of course, there's the Champions League and the music and all of that. But I think the World Cup is the absolute dream. I mean, winning it, obviously, I think tops everything else. But just taking part is once every 4 years. So in a career, really, you've got 2 goals for sure, maybe 3 if you're lucky. If your career,
and if you're good,
and if you're good as well,
and if your country's good,
and if country is good. Although now, as you've been saying, with 48, it means smaller countries can make it when they would have never been able to make it 20 years ago. So the way why Scotland are there, like they were in the Euros, is because of those extended new format, really. Otherwise, they've always struggled. But let's see. I would think that they would have learned a lot from what happened at the last Euros, for example, where I think they had kind of high hopes for themselves and didn't really work out.
It's the age-old thing with Scotland and with Denmark is you're going to have some very good players playing alongside some pretty average players. And if you're very good players, I mean, we talked about this on Monday with Norway, right? When your very good players are missing, the guys coming in from them, there is a big drop-off. So I think it's a very different dynamic. If we compare it to England or France, and I say, okay, yes, obviously if Mbappe is not there or Harry Kane's not there, there's a drop off with the next guy. But if you go from Mbappe to Marcus Thuram or Mateta or whatever, or Ekitike, it's not going to affect the team in the same way as if you go from, Scott McTominay to somebody I've never heard of in the championship.
No, for sure. And I think that's also the challenge here. And as everything, like the later stages of the Champions League, if you get to the World Cup with those kind of issues, if you're Scotland, Denmark, but anybody else, you struggle. And after such a long season already on the back of another long season before and another long season before, I think all those head coaches, from Carlo to Deschamps to Tuchel, Nagelsmann, etc., they will all pray for those players to be as fit as possible come the World Cup. It's very difficult, especially if you've got a few of your players, not so much in Scotland or Denmark case, but involved in the last stages of the Champions League or something up for grabs still in the league, those players are going to play really late until the season and then go straight into World Cup mode. And it's not easy to manage. Remember Fabio Capello almost used the time before that Euros to do like almost a mini preseason where that's not what the players need. It's very difficult, I think, to manage the players between the end of the season and the start of the World Cup in terms of what kind of fitness work do you do.
And what form are they going to be in? And
Yeah.
are they coming on the back of a long season or the back of a season where they miss half a year? I mean, I think to Germany, for example, right? Or Canada, you're going to get Jamal Musiala and Alphonso Davies heading into the World Cup when they won't have the same workload. They'll be fit. I mean,
it'll be 6 months of a season. Yeah,
it'll be 6 months of a
10.
season. And if you think of it, so they will be at their peak.
Yeah.
So there's all these dynamics that come into it. And going back to the question of you raised the point of the 48 teams. We have 42 teams now in the bag. We're left. 2 more teams will come out of the Interconfederation playoffs.
Yeah.
4 more teams will come out of the UEFA playoffs. All right, I have strong views on this, so I'm going to let you answer this. When they went to 48 teams, having now seen what a 48 team qualification looked like, do you feel somehow cheated? Do you feel like somehow the World Cup, it's not the same, it's been diluted, you're going to have teams there that shouldn't be there?
I don't think so,
that way?
but I feel 48 is the maximum. I would not want to go over that. I think then there's the risk that the quality, the value of it, even the perception that we get is too different. 48 for me is the maximum. But like I was happy with the extended format of the Euros, I'm happy with these 48 teams. Yeah. I don't mind Uzbekistan at the World Cup and
Nevada at the World Cup. You're a
Iraq,
Ballon d'Or winner.
Curacao, Haiti. I'm not. They might not go further, but I don't mind them at all. But 48 is the maximum. Over that, then I think you're losing your way.
I view it in terms of proportion, right? So there are 211 FIFA. I think you have to use 2 benchmarks. One is proportion. There are 211 FIFA member nations. 48 out of 211 means it's less than 1 in 4. Throughout FIFA's history, it's actually usually been higher. It's been usually 1 in 3. Obviously, it was lower in 2022 because there's still 32 teams. But most of the time, it's been 1 in 3. So I look at this as a benchmark and I say, I'm comfortable 1 in 4. I don't think it should go higher unless, I don't know, something happens politically and we have 400 FIFA members. Then it probably should go higher. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. For me, the other big thing is, okay, when they get to the World Cup, do we see massive one-sided games? And I think back, and look, I was a very young kid, and I remember Hungary beating El Salvador 10-1.
Yeah.
I do not remember, I think it was Yugoslavia beating Zaire 9-0. That was in 1974. I have no memory of that. I don't remember. I think there was a 7-1 as well involving Haiti in 1974. How many really one-side? I think it was it England, Panama was 6-0, I think.
Yeah, the France, Australia. Yeah, there've been some heavy, the 5-0, 5-1, 6-0. It happens.
But it happens week in, week out in...
It can happen in any
league all the time.
Yeah.
And there's actually very few of them. And so when we talk about dilution of talent, right, I don't want to see a tournament where people just get pumped like this. But I don't think it's going to happen. It hasn't happened in the tournaments until now. And, when I actually look at these teams that have, I mean, we do this for a living, so maybe we watch more of the stuff than others do, right? But when I look at these teams that have qualified, honestly, I don't see too many potentially really bad teams. Yes, so if Brazil play Curacao, could they try to run up the score? Maybe, but equally, as we've seen, and as an Italy fan, I know this very well, you can play Moldova and if they run harder and they defend harder, it's the nature of the game. It's not like it's not like Bayern win every game 8-0.
That's
and
true.
they really
and
do try to
also,
run up
the
the
fact
score.
that Curacao and Haiti, who are the two small, Cape Verde to a certain extent, qualifies because also it's hosted by Canada, Mexico, and the USA, who are automatically qualified.
Yes, so that gives CONCACAF more slots.
Exactly. If it had been anywhere else, USA, Canada, Mexico would have qualified ahead of Curacao and Haiti to start with. right?
Yeah, you would assume
You
so.
would
Yeah.
say. So it's slightly a little bit different. It's not because it's 48 teams that Curaçao and Haiti are qualified for this. It's more the fact that it's who's hosting the tournament this year. But I think it's also great for the development of the game. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, and we talk about it in the women's game too. I think it's great for those nations to have their 26 players plus the coaching staff, whether they're nationals or foreigner coaches, it doesn't matter so much. But for the development of football in those countries, it's great that they will have those experiences. For on television, their people will be able to see Uzbekistan, France, Uzbekistan, Brazil, Jordan, England. That this is great. It's really good for the game itself.
It's this is good for the game. It's good for the country.
Yeah,
It's a
of
shared
course.
national experience, which hopefully many of these countries are. They may be divided politically, they may be
Yeah.
divided by religion, but they come together around the sport, which is part of the reason we love it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And people get so bent out of shape of this. They talk about dilution of quality, like, and they say, well, the World Cup is the highest expression of football. Mate, it's not, right? Any one of the Champions League semifinalists from last year, I think, would probably beat almost every nation
Yeah.
in the world, right?
Yeah.
That is the highest level.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
A
for
team
sure.
that's an actual team with guys brought in where they train together, work together.
Every day, yeah.
This is something completely different. And I think we should celebrate it
Yeah.
for what it is. And it just, these snobs, Jules. bug me.
No,
And one more thing.
but you can understand it.
One more thing I have to say. We talk about qualifying on merit, and I have to go back to Nigeria. Okay. So Nigeria played poorly. They played poorly in group stages. Probably they found themselves, and then they lose Osimhen and so on. We also, and this is a warning to everybody who puts too much stock in qualification. The World Cup doesn't kick off until June 12th.
Yeah.
Had Nigeria qualified, we might have seen a completely different Nigeria because we know that they have some very good players and
In
Victor
terms
Osimhen,
of
of course.
their style and their
No,
level.
in terms of their level.
Oh, yeah.
So reading things into qualification as some sort of universal verdict of what might happen in a World Cup
Oh, I see. Yeah.
is also incorrect.
Yeah.
So, and I say that to cheer myself up in case things don't go according
Just
to
in
plan.
case, we don't
With
know.
Italy. We
Just
don't
in
know.
case.
We don't know. It's all right. I still got Japan to root for. All right, enough Scotland. How about some quick hits instead?
go, Gab.
Spain do not finish qualifying with a perfect record. They're held 2-2 by Turkey. Gobble, gobble. Jules, were we getting a little too excited? Or was this actually a bit of a dead rubber?
Yeah, it was. Both managers, to be fair, both head coaches rotated massively. It was more of both B teams.
Yeah.
Really. But it was still a good game. It was still quite open. It finished 2-2. There could have been more goals. Spain could have won. But yeah, it's not perfect. They conceded 2 at the end as well. So
Sally Oskan, that was a bit special.
Good
Nice to see back.
and good as well. So there's some good players in both teams that are, waiting in the wings.
I'm glad we cleared this up because people look at this and like, oh, maybe Spain. No. It's not. It wasn't Spain and it wasn't Turkey.
Exactly.
So
Germany destroyed Slovakia 6-0 to clinch their group, which was obviously in the balance before that game. Gab, they had their critics, but this was the perfect response.
yeah, I don't think things could have worked out any better for them, right? There were some
So
people,
clinical.
there's a little, let's face it, Schadenfreude, German
yeah.
word here going into
Yes.
it. I think a lot of us were secretly hoping. I mean, I'll come out and say it. I was hoping that Germany
it
were
was
going to go in the
never gonna
playoffs.
happen.
No, you know why? Because Germany and Italy would have both been top seeds, and so we would not have had to face Germany, and they wouldn't have had to face us.
Yeah.
And so I would have been good with that. And sort of Tullio Calzone is Italian. I could steal a
Yes.
little bit of his glory. But no, I think they went out there. They were professional, and I also think some players also felt they had a bit of a point to prove. Florian Wirtz, I saw had a good game,
Yes, very good.
and he needs to pick me up given the way his year's going.
Yeah.
2 7+ results to end Group J, Jules. Belgium pound Liechtenstein to win the group, while Wales do the same to North Macedonia to go into the playoffs. You're both Belgium and Wales adjacent.
Yeah.
Great night for you.
Yeah, although I'm not sure how much Belgium can take away from Liechtenstein win. To be fair, although Doku played really well again, and it was good.
Hans van Aken, Mr. Champions League scoring again.
Mr. World Cup qualifier now, as we call him.
Who needs Kevin De Bruyne then when you've got Hans van Aken?
Who is even Kevin De Bruyne? I don't know. I'm asking you the question. For Wales, it was a bit different. So they were already in the playoffs, but finishing second in their group meant that they would play their semi-final in Cardiff instead of playing it away had they not beaten North Macedonia. They played really well. Harry Woodson with a hat-trick. They deserved that. I think Craig Bellamy and this group have done a really, really good job throughout the whole qualifiers. So second place behind Belgium is where they belong. And now they're usually pretty good at home in Euros playoffs or World Cup playoffs. So let's see who comes to Cardiff.
I hope Wales qualify so I can tell my Craig Bellamy in Athens after the European Cup final story.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's wait to see if they qualify. No surprise in Group G, Gab. Holland beat Lithuania 4-0 to win the group, while Poland beat Malta with a late Piotr Zelensky winner.
You're not great. Twice taking the lead against Malta and twice having to come from behind, but they get it done. Robert Lewandowski, that goal-scoring chap, getting on there. And really just an excuse to point out that Holland go through qualifying undefeated. And you know what? I looked at this group, and yeah, it's not great, Lithuania, Malta, Poland, but there are worse groups. So we're going to get Dutch guy? No, a little bit? No, tiny bit?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see once they face better opposition, yeah?
They're better than Ajax, though, right?
Yeah, well, everybody is.
Jules, we're not done because we have more quick hits. Brazil and Tunisia draw 1-1. Escaleta Ancelotti sticks to the 4-2-4. Very few changes as well.
Yeah.
And Esteval Willian shines again.
Again, he scored the goal on the penalty. You put in the quick hits, it's only friendlies. But you believe that he's found his balance. I want to see at Chelsea, though. And to be fair, I didn't think Maresca played him enough lately anyway before this international break.
He's going to play him even less, given he started both games now.
Yeah, true. Although you would think that maybe more than the Barcelona game that Chelsea will play next week in the Champions League at Stamford Bridge, the game away at Burnley on this weekend is probably a good opportunity with Neto recovering from that kind of little groin injury that he had. Play Estevao. The guy's on fire. They didn't even travel that far. They played in London and in Lille. So, like literally next door to Cobham. So let's just give him a bit more game time, I think, because you're right. I think he's ready now. I know he's still very young and you have to be careful, sure. But I think he deserves to play a bit more than what he's done lately.
I think the level he's on is just he's way ahead of his development curve. But when I said balance, I meant the 4-2-4. Like he's really doing this.
Although the first half was very difficult against Tunisia. Tunisia were the better team. So I was a little bit like, this might work in some games, sure. In other games, I'm not too sure. I'm not sure you can win a World Cup in a 4-2-4 formation.
The packet, by the way, missing a penalty.
Yeah.
Just pointing that out.
After Gabriel, another Brazil defender also goes down. Gab, Eder Militao will miss the next 2 weeks with a groin injury. Not good news for Real Madrid.
No, but it could have been worse. You're talking about groins. Dean Huyson is on his way back from injury. Of course, he missed this international break. David Alaba is supposedly fit, although I'm not sure what that means. So I think depending on the schedule, we may go back to seeing Mr. Chouameni at center back. Which to be honest,
delighted.
Well, look, if Camavinga's fit, why not? Right? Depending who the opponent is.
He just doesn't like playing there, but
yeah, he likes playing though, right?
Yeah, no, true. It's better than not playing. You're right, that's true.
They've done it just like we said they would. Curaçao hold Jamaica to a draw and become the smallest country by population ever to qualify for a World Cup, while the Reggae Boys go to the playoffs as their coach, Steve McLaren, goes home.
Yeah, he goes home because they're in the playoff, as you said, so they might still qualify Jamaica, and we will see who they have in the intercontinental playoff. But if you're beaten by Curaçao in terms of the rankings over the 6 games that they had, it's not acceptable.
Okay. Can I say something now? I like Steve McLaren. I've met Steve McLaren. I think he's a good person.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody advises him on how to present himself. He needs help. He knew he was going to get abuse, obviously, because Jamaica have to go to the playoffs. To resign on the spot when you know that there is a playoff coming up, and for better or worse, you need to at least have a discussion about it. Secondly, you can't come out and say, "Oh, I've thought long and hard about this," when in fact you haven't. You just lost, because you wouldn't be resigning if you've gone through, right?
True, but they haven't been. They were poor,
and also he's reading a statement. So obviously, unless he's like the world's fastest typist, he had the statement prepared beforehand. It's just not a good look.
But maybe he was going to quit anyway, even if they had qualified.
Why?
Because they haven't been good, and it's not a great achievement to qualify in that kind of group. And now you've been humiliated by Curaçao, which is the story, by the way. Not really Jamaica finishing second and going into the playoff, because what Dick Advocat has done, we've explained it before. with obviously all the history between the Netherlands and Curacao. There's a lot of players there, like Obispo, for example, or the Bacunia brothers, who have the two nationalities, who are Dutch from Curaçao's descent and were obviously eligible to play for them. So this is great. But Dick Advocat has built this team. Patrick Kluivert was the national team head coach before, for similar pathway and reason. But he's really made that happen. It's an incredible story, really, that we should celebrate, and let's hope they do well at the World Cup.
Yeah, by the way, it's the same blueprint that, Ireland used in the past. Scotland, a lot of these countries do that.
Yeah. And also in CONCACAF, also a great story, Gabby. Haiti beat Nicaragua 2-0 to also qualify for the World Cup. And again, similar pathway, they've got a lot of dual nationals in their team.
Yeah, I think the wrinkle on this, though, is that Curacao is a stable country, wealthy by the standards of the region. Haiti, of course, as everybody knows, is the poorest. They keep saying the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Equally, there's so much unrest there. They're not able to play their home games at home. Last night on the FC show, Alexis Nunes said that their coach Sébastien Migne, who's French or French adjacent, he's never even been to Haiti.
No, he's never been. No.
So to go through this, on top of that, they also had the hurricane as well. 3-4 weeks ago. I mean, this is a tremendous achievement
incredible.
any way you slice it.
Yeah.
And like I said, Haiti have been to a World Cup before, many, many years ago. And you talk about bringing a country together. They scored against Italy, actually. I think they took the lead against Italy in 1974. Italy, who were vice world champions back then, back when we were good. But it's a tremendous story. Well done to everybody involved. Ready for another great tale?
Yes, always.
Iraq are also headed to the Interconfederation playoffs. Jules, they do it in the most dramatic way with a penalty in the 17th minute of injury time against the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, which I think they were against the odds because the UAE were the favorite going into these home and away legs, really. And you're right, it's that late because VAR took a long time to award the penalty as well. So
4 minutes, but I mean the penalty was awarded in the 13th minute.
Yeah.
So even the fact that
long, you're right. Yeah, that's
it did feel kind of Fergie time. I don't know.
Yeah, it felt like really long. But well done to them. I think it's amazing to be at this stage in the playoffs, considering where they're coming from. Obviously, similar issues than some that we mentioned before with Haiti, or where they play their game.
And many of these players also players of Iraqi descent, maybe refugees who left during the war.
It's been very difficult. Yeah, so they started really well, the qualifier campaign, and then had a proper dip in form, and then back to their best when he needed the most, and now wait for the draw to the playoffs.
And then they and the UAE, you might say, they also had the screw job of those little 3-team playoff tournaments. Against which Qatar and Saudi went through.
Exactly. Achraf Hakimi has won the African Ballon d'Or on Wednesday night ahead of Mohamed Salah and Victor Osimhen. Gab, I know how much you like these awards, so I don't know why you give yourself these quick hits.
Because you can counter it. Look, no, like the point, as I've said this before, is if African Ballon d'Or voters think the way generic Ballon d'Or voters think, then really only Hakimi could have won it because he won everything.
Yeah.
Except for the Club World Cup. Yeah. But he won everything with his team and he had a starring role with his team.
Yeah.
How do you weigh this up versus Mohamed Salah and the season he had? Or I would say Victor Osimhen, but then I'm biased. But I think it's an interesting one. You take Salah, it depends what benchmark you use. You take Salah out of Liverpool. Liverpool do not win the title last season, right?
That's true.
100% they don't. You take Achraf Hakimi out of Paris Saint-Germain, maybe they don't win the Champions League.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
But they probably win Ligue 1.
But he doesn't win it because he won the Ligue title. He won it because he was a key part in the team that won the Champions League.
And Mohamed Salah was a key part. And you see what I'm saying? Like,
I don't think there's any debate here on who deserves it, who was the best African player last year. And by the way, PSG now holds 3 Ballon d'Ors, African one, Asian one with Kangin Lee, and the main one.
There you go. That's another trouble for you.
My team.
Sticking with Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah.
Court proceedings are underway in the legal dispute between Kylian Mbappe and Paris Saint-Germain. Mbappe says Paris Saint-Germain owe him 263 million euros.
That's right.
Paris Saint-Germain say he owes them 240 million euros.
That's right.
Jules, actually, maybe I will. How about you take sides here and tell me who's right and who's wrong?
Nobody's right.
You'd be like Sullivan. I knew you were going to do this.
It's very simple, although it's also very complicated. But it seems that PSG believed there was an agreement between them and Mbappe that he would not leave on as a free agent at the end of his contract. But because he was out of contract, the only way that could happen if he was waiving off some of the bonuses, some of his wages, things like that. Mbappe says that was never the case and that they owe him the wages that they didn't pay him, which is true. I think April, May, and June, plus some bonuses that he was entitled to get, which I completely understand. So it's his word against theirs. I think they.
How does he get to 246 million?
So they pumped up those numbers because
there's some other damages.
Oh yeah, for all the damages, for the time
because I think the wages and
waiting.
everything and bonuses when they didn't pay him, that's about 60 million.
Yeah.
So like, where does the other 200 come from?
So there's an 80 million bonus that they were supposed to give him, things like that. So there's a lot of things, bonuses for victories and the league and stuff like that. So match day bonuses. So it's a lot of things, but yeah, it's one of those.
They could probably just call it quits and they owe each other similar amounts of money.
Thomas Tuchel says he's going to visit Trent Alexander-Arnold in Madrid, Gabby, to explain what he needs to do to get back in the England team. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense. I mean, I think I would go to Madrid to speak to somebody who's more important, potentially, to this England team, and that is Jude Bellingham. To make sure they're on the level, to make sure we don't have scenes like the other one. Like I said, Bellingham threw a strop when he was substituted. I don't know why Tuchel took him off with 6 minutes to go and put him in that position. But yes, Trent is a special type of right back. You need to accommodate the team with him. Right now, he's not playing that much at Real Madrid. So if he plays, he might get in the team. Some 30,000 gathered at Montjuic for a friendly match between Catalonia, a representative team from Catalonia, and Palestine. Pep Guardiola had some powerful words.
Yeah, really strong message for all the people from from Palestine and from Gaza especially. It was the second game that was organized in Spain after the one in the Basque Country last week, a few days before. Not that the score in those kind of games matters so much, but Palestine scored a goal. They lost 2-1, but they scored a goal so their fans could celebrate. The atmosphere was obviously, I think, very special. There was a lot of tribute paid and a lot of emotions, I think, which is what those games are about. All the money raised, obviously, from the ticket sales to everything else is going straight to charity to help the people from over there. So I think it's a wonderful gesture that they've done in Spain the last two games.
Pep Guardiola, some of the things he came out and he said if they felt very, very heartfelt. He says he knows people from all over the world. Obviously Palestinians, Arabs, Jews, Israelis, and he says, everybody's been touched, and he hasn't met anybody who can defend kind of what happened. It's rare to see a figure in sports who, especially one who does not have a direct personal connection to the area, as far as I know, come out and speak like this.
Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo paid a visit to the White House where he met the US president and his son, Baron, who is a big football fan. Gab, the president said that Baron, being 6'9", is probably too tall to turning pro as a footballer. Do you agree with that?
I think, the quote was, my son is a very good athlete, but on the tall side for soccer.
Okay.
Yes, unless Baron was going to be a goalkeeper. I was actually thinking about this.
He could be a goalkeeper.
Well, 6'9", I remember this guy, Kevin Francis, who played in the lower divisions, kind of like from a standstill. Like 6'9", for those who don't know. That is like 208, 2 meters, 8 centimeters.
How old is Baron?
He's 19 or 20 now.
Oh, okay.
He's at NYU. He's at university.
Oh.
What you can't. There is. He's right. There is a limit.
Yeah, there is.
And after a certain height, you either play center back or center forward. Right. You can't really play anything else.
Plays over the height of 2 meters. So what is that? 6'7"? 6'7", yeah. 6'7", here you go. Well done, Gabby. It's really rare. Voltemade, those kind of guys.
Peter Crouch,
yeah.
Lorenzo Luca.
Yeah.
But there's a pattern. You're running center forward. Yerry Mina is also super tall.
Yeah, super tall. But yeah, it's rare. So
and
basketball is probably better for him.
The reason it's rare, just for those who don't know, right, is that at that height, you're not going to have the lateral mobility. Is that it?
Yeah, the pay, the mobility. You're right. Even the technical ability is quite difficult. If you want to be a striker, usually they're centre backs, those big, tall guys, more than number nines or wingers, because you need the pace and you need to low center of gravity to be a good dribbler, which you can't be if you're 6'9".
Zlatan might have something to say about that, but then again, Zlatan's unique.
He's not that, and he's not that tall even either.
If he was that tall, he would be even more powerful.
Well, he would have been also a basketball champion and many other sports, I'm sure.
Which he could have been anyway,
Yeah,
of course, because he's Zlatan and you're not.
Let's go back to qualifying, Jules. A late goal from Michael Gregovic gives Austria a 1-1 draw with Bosnia, enabling Ralf Rangnick's crew to avoid the playoffs and qualify directly to the World Cup.
Yeah, although they were meant to sweat properly, Rangnick and Austria, because this is a game that they should have. I mean, to be fair, this is a group they should have had, and they had under control. But when Bosnia scored that goal just before the break, and then where the clock was ticking, I think Gregoric's goal is 78th minute. So it took them a while before leveling the score. As good as it would have been to have Bosnia in the World Cup straight away, directly, without trying to go through the playoff like they will. And Edin Dzeko to play his last World Cup at 40, because it's it would be the theme of this World Cup, right?
Thinking.
Because Cristiano, probably Messi,
Possibly Modric,
who
we'll get to.
Dzeko. There's probably a few more that we forget just like that on the top of our heads. So let's hope that Dzeko and Bosnia qualify, just for everything that is given to football in general. But yeah, I think Austria deserved to be there and top their group, but that was not easy.
Maybe Ilicic will come out of retirement for.
Maybe, imagine.
He is retired.
I don't know.
That
Yeah,
would be
I don't know
awesome.
what he's doing. Yeah. How about another old-timer, Gab, after Dzeko? Luka Modric comes off the bench as Croatia beat Montenegro 3-2. Are you feeling that kind of last dance vibes with him as well?
Yeah, well, remember, for a long time, we felt Last Dance vibes about the sort of the Croatia group. Now I look around and it's Modric and Perisic, if you want to include them in the groups. And then there's going to be a passage of the baton onto, Gvardiol and Sucic and these other guys, right? Although Zlatko Dalic is still there, looking like Zlatko Dalic. I feel like I'm living in a stereotype, but it is valid. You don't write these people off.
No.
These guys go into tournaments and they become dangerous. Sometimes they stink, but they can become dangerous at any time. And Modric is eternal. If you couldn't see his face and all those lines on his face, which remind you that he's 40 years old, if you just saw him with like that little boy haircut that he has dancing around, I mean, I see a weekend without with Milan.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't think that the man's 40 years old. Shout out to the Czech Republic, or Czechia as they like to be known. We already knew this was going to happen. They beat up Gibraltar 6-0, and welcome to the playoffs. Switzerland and Kosovo play out a 1-1 draw, which kind of suits both.
Yeah.
Very much so. The Swiss, again, qualified directly for a major tournament. Kosovo are playoff bound.
Which is another great story, because they might go through and qualify, and if they did, it would be an amazing achievement for them as well, to add to the list of all those great countries and great stories that we mentioned before. For Switzerland, you expected them to be there. I think the surprise is more how well Kosovo have played and how well they pushed them in a way before Murat Yakin, who, by the way, earlier in the qualifiers was under a lot of pressure, I would say. They make it. Again, there's a good mix of the older generation, the Xhaka and Rodriguez generation, to the younger one, like Vargas, who scored that goal. So I think Switzerland could be a very interesting proposition in that World Cup.
Fun fact about Kosovo as well. There are some countries, including Spain, for example, that don't actually recognize Kosovo as a country for political reasons, but they recognize them obviously as a
football
opponent.
nation. Yeah. Argentina were due to play a friendly against Australia in India. Gab, I bet you're very disappointed that it was postponed.
Yeah, that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted Lionel Messi and all these guys to travel to Kerala to play in a friendly against Australia. I guess the AFA were promised money, and that's why they're doing it. That's why they went to Angola. The organizers couldn't get their paperwork done in time. They said, oh, no, we'll play this in the next international break. Well, obviously, Argentina don't have the playoffs. I haven't looked, but I'm assuming they already have matches scheduled for March.
I don't know many teams
cram
have.
a third one in, no?
No, many teams.
Maybe they were looking to see how things come out?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So if you're Argentina, between a glamour friendly against France, a World Cup rematch, for example, and going to play Australia in Kerala in March, what would you choose?
Yes, it depends who offers the most money, I guess.
there
If
you
you're clearly the Argentine FA right now.
All right, let's wrap qualifiers. Panama, no surprise,
Nope.
clinched their place in the World Cup with a 3-0 win over El Salvador. And shout out to Suriname, another Dutch adjacent country.
Exactly.
Into Confederation playoff bound.
Yeah, for them. Again, we know those teams that will play in the intercontinental playoff, which I guess a team like Bolivia is probably one of your other big names. Congo and Iraq are the two highly seeded, so they will go straight into the semifinals.
Yeah.
So it should be fun to watch, to be fair. New Caledonia is one.
Obviously, New Caledonia is the one everybody wants to play.
Yeah,
I'm assuming Congo is the one everybody wants to avoid, even more than Iraq.
Yeah, definitely. The USA destroy Uruguay 5-1 in a friendly, Gab. Yeah, another win for Marcelo Pochettino. I think this is 4 in a row, 5 in a row now?
5 in a row.
5 in a row, but so why is he so grumpy?
This is weird. Okay, sorry. So it's a friendly. And some people, especially in the US, because US are only playing friendlies, they attach so much importance to this. And so the 5 wins in a row is what it is. But you're still playing Uruguay.
Yeah,
maybe Uruguay not going full throttle, but it's still freaking Uruguay.
It is. You're right.
And it was a dominant performance. But it was a dominant performance in a game where Pochettino, for different reasons, a lot of his kind of big names didn't start.
Yeah.
Anthony Robinson, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Christian Pulisic, of course. And so afterwards, he's asked about, this was so weird. He's asked about, you know, what is it? I'm paraphrasing here, but he was asked about how his regulars were missing. And he's like, what is regulars? I don't understand. You tell me, what is regulars? I'm like, bro, you're being stupid. You know exactly what he means.
Seems to be at war with the US media all the time, like angry.
He makes some weird quip where he says like, he's like, I'm not the janitor. Do you want me to go to the dressing room and come back and we start over? What's wrong with the question? He's asking you, hey, do you actually have a lot of depth on this team? You know, are some of the other players who might be, you don't want to call them regulars, Poch? Let's say the other players people have actually heard of.
Yeah.
Maybe their places aren't as secure. Do they give you? It's a legitimate question.
Completely.
And again, obviously his people come out and say, oh, well, no, there's a language barrier. Enough with the language barrier stuff. Between now his stint in the US and the years he worked in England, at Southampton, at Spurs, and at Chelsea, 7, 8 years? He can't pretend he doesn't understand what people are saying.
That's not that. That's
so what is it? Is it just him being weird?
No, I don't think it's him being weird. Is it this like it's us against you, and you know I'm at headlocks with you and war with you, and I don't understand your position, that culture, football that he repeats. Because when he talks about that football culture or soccer culture, he's also having a go at the way it's covered in the US, right?
Right.
The way they cover the US men's national team and all of this. So I think that's more his problem than anything else. But let's hope it's resolved between now. He needs everybody on board, everybody to be together for the US to do well in their own World Cup in 6 months' time now.
So the reason I don't understand the strategy, and look, the siege mentality, it's an easy way to do it.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in you, but I do. Whatever. That's fine. It's a tactic that you can use, right? But he's not going to see these guys again, I think, until March, until the next international break. So for the next 4 months, the story is going to be Pochettino's press conference and these weird things. So rather than celebrating the fact that they played very, very well against Uruguay, George Andrés scored a wonderful goal at the beginning, and then Uruguay kind of lose their marbles again, and Bentancur gets very predictably sent off. That's how he rolls.
Yeah.
The story becomes, who are the regulars, who are not the regulars, blah, blah, blah. Why is Pochettino weird? Why does he say weird things? I don't... How does this benefit him?
Sure. Yeah, it's not helping him. That's for sure. That's for sure.
More Kylian Mbappe.
Oh, my boy.
Now, he chose to go to Dubai and take a little break. Of course, he picked up an injury in France's first game. He went to some sponsor event with those giant Hublot watches. And he went to some paddle event.
We don't know if he played or not, but he was definitely there because there's a photo of him with...
I would assume he didn't play paddle.
Well, he's injured, so...
So I would assume he did not.
Well, we hope so. Although he's injured.
But French FA president, Philippe Diallo, had to come out and defend him from his critics. Isn't he just kind of making this thing even bigger?
It's just another story that probably could have been avoided. He left the French squad once they qualified after the win against Ukraine, and the statement from the French Federation was, he's got a swollen ankle. That ankle is injured. He's been injured before.
So maybe we shouldn't walk around on it.
So he's going back to Madrid to have scans. Right? He never went back to Madrid. I mean, he went on Wednesday, but he went straight from Paris to Dubai. Didn't go for scans.
Well, maybe he got it. You know what it is? You know, sometimes if you get a connecting flight, you get a cheaper deal.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he got a deal on Emirates where
Paris, Madrid.
No, Paris, Dubai, Madrid.
Oh yes.
Right? Maybe he went to Madrid via Dubai because he got a cheaper deal.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
because he doesn't have that 263 million from Paris Saint-Germain yet. So
he does fly private jet. So I'm not sure what kind of cheaper deal he got through his private jet, the company that he hires the jets from. But I don't know.
He doesn't even own his private jet. He's not like Cristiano.
I might be wrong. I don't think so. Cristiano bought a new one recently, by the way.
I'm pretty sure he does not own a private. I don't think.
But it won't be too far. It will be soon. It could be soon. Yeah. If Neymar, Cristiano have one, Messi, I suspect, has one.
I don't think. No, Messi.
Messi doesn't want. I mean, I guess you can always hire one. That's a lot of players who are not as rich as the name that we just mentioned.
It's also that I'm embarrassed that I know far too much about this.
Yes, very true. But yeah, for Kylian,
you don't. It's not a good idea to own your own plane unless you're flying kind of the same routes over and over again.
Right.
And the reason for that is, if you're kind of hopscotching around Europe,
I can't wait for this. Go on.
No. The reason is, if you're hopscotching around Europe, you want a smaller plane because it's a lot. You have a lot more flexibility. It's a lot easier to get slots and stuff like that. If you're flying longer haul routes, even a luxury Gulfstream or something like that, it's not going to be the best ride in a smaller plane if you're flying long haul. So then you're going to need a bigger plane, which is less convenient for your short hops. So really, you should own two planes, which Cristiano probably does.
Does. Yeah.
But why did Diallo make it worse by coming out and talking about it?
No, he had to, because people were starting to criticize the national team, the French Federation, Kylian. Why did he leave? And
why did he leave?
He left to go to Dubai. If he'd gone back to Madrid to have scans on his injured ankle,
and then gone to Dubai, for example,
or something like that. But I don't know. It's another. I think it's a storm in the teacup, personally. But a lot of people were not happy in France.
All right. I guess he's got contracts and stuff which allow him to do this. He's not breaching his contract. Otherwise, we would have heard of it.
No. He was released by the French Federation from the squad. It's just that there was clearly miscommunication somewhere, or we were told one thing that didn't happen and another thing happened.
Yeah. So. But equally, Real Madrid would have a stipulation where players, if they're not with their national teams, they can just go off on holiday without the club's permission. So I'd love to know.
No, they were off. So there was no training at Real Madrid until Wednesday, where he didn't train, stayed in.
But there's still limitations on what players are allowed to do, even if training is off. Because Gonzalo Garcia, what does he do? He goes on holiday, right? Presumably.
Yeah, he takes a few days off when you're off training, when there's no training. So I don't think Real Madrid I don't think
Real Madrid care about this.
Yeah. I think it was more of a French.
All right.
Kylian can do whatever he wants on his days off.
So it's French people being mean to their big star.
To our captain. Yeah. Exactly. After 8 years, Arsenal have officially announced that they're ending their sponsorship deal with the Rwanda Tourist Board, under pressure from fans, Gab.
Yeah, it's going to end in June 2026. There's obviously some very serious human rights concern. The president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, is a massive Arsenal fan and clearly very popular in this country because he always wins elections with 95%, 98% of the votes. There's also more recently, violence in the Congo with the United Nations saying Rwanda are interfering. They're financing rebels and stuff like that. It's just not a good look. It's not a good look for anyone. And I know I watched an NBA highlight. I forget the team, but there's NBA teams that have this sponsorship as well. And I think people should ask questions about where that money's coming from and how it's coming. Arsenal, but I assume this was written into their contract. They issued a statement where it almost seems as if it's not Arsenal who's ending it. It's Rwanda, because it says the move reflects Visit Rwanda's broader strategy to diversify its global sports partnerships and expand into new markets, blah, blah, blah. So it almost seems as if it's Rwanda who don't want this anymore. Allow me to be very skeptical about this. I think it's good. I think you need to listen to your fans, and I'm glad they did. Let's stick with Arsenal, but go to the Women's Champions League. They need to come from behind, but get a 2-1 win over Real Madrid on a bitterly cold night, and yet you were there.
I was there. Producer Freddie was there as well, and I thought the quality was good, decent. I like Real Madrid, although they come short in the big games. I mean, they heavily lost the Clásico last weekend, and then this, where they were 1-0 up. And looking decent, to be fair, but Alicia Russo, who else? I mean, I don't know where Arsenal would be without her. We said that in the show where we talked about the Women's Champions League with Emily Keogh, and she scored 2 goals. Maybe the first one, there's a little push, but VAR looked at it and didn't interfere, didn't intervene.
The first one, by the way, the TV pictures were clear as mud. I at least the highlights I saw, I couldn't. It was so far away, I couldn't tell. And I'm like, I hope that's not what the VAR is looking at.
No. They had other angles and stuff. But yeah, it's a win that Arsenal needed badly. Obviously, they had only 1 win in 3 before that. Now with 6 points and 2 more games against Leuven and Twente, where you expect them to win both. It's looking much better for not just their qualifying, but maybe potentially even top 4 finish. Wild stuff in Turin, Gab. Juventus throw away a 3-0 lead over OL Lyon and end up drawing 3-3, with Lyon scoring 3 times in the final half hour.
That's right, and they could have scored the winner at the end.
It was offside.
Like Lyon are a really good team. They had chances. They hit the woodwork early and so on. Everything worked out for Juve. Juve defended very well, and I think this is part of their growth process, learning how to manage and to see out a 3-0 lead. Now, unless you're Carlo Ancelotti, if you have a 3-0 lead and you don't win the game in Italian football, especially at home, you get sacked the next morning.
Yeah,
this is not going to happen here.
No,
and I think that probably tells you, it's one of the differences, right? But it also tells you where Juventus are, I think, on their journey in women's football. They've invested a lot of money. Relative to other Italian clubs, they're still growing. And I think on the balance of the game, Lyon are just substantially better.
Yeah,
and by the way, maybe a bit of credit for the comeback does actually go to John Textor. Because I'd forgotten this, but this is not an entirely separate team. He still owns 48%. Or not he, but...
No, Eagle Group.
So actually not even that. It's the OL Group that owns... And via Eagle Group, he owns, so he can take some credit. I like to think that at halftime, 3-0 down.
He made a phone call?
I think they put him on FaceTime and they said, do it, win one for the Texter.
Exactly.
Wolfsburg, meanwhile, demolish Manchester United 5-2 to stay right behind OL, Jules.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a setback for United away in Germany. I don't think they saw this one coming. I certainly didn't think there was going to be that much difference between the two, because United started well.
They could have scored 7 or 8.
Yeah, it was open bar really for Wolfsburg, who are a good team, but United should have done better than that. Again, there's 2 more games to go.
So much bad defending and so many self-inflicted mistakes for Manchester United in this game as well.
At that level, it's not acceptable. So it's a setback. I think they can recover from it, but that was a really bad defeat for them.
Do you think maybe the problem here was that Rachel Brown-Finnis was trying to talk to
I wonder if Mike
United
Skinner,
manager,
exactly.
and it caused them to glitch again.
What was it this time? What was the issue this time? Neymar's marketing company have brought the commercial rights to the Pelé brand for a reported $18 million. Gab, what does this mean?
They have no idea. Neymar, this is the company that he owns together with his dad, Neymar Senior, and I guess it's the Pelé brand, so Pelé branded merchandise, memorabilia, stuff like that. But obviously Pelé, one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT.
Yeah.
But this isn't the Jordan brand. It's not a brand that's been...
They must have done the math before, right? They would not spend that money if it was not profitable for them.
Strange things happen sometimes due to ego, due to tax purposes. I don't know. I think it's a weird one. Almost as weird as this next one. So this story originated in Poland and was picked up in Spain.
Yeah.
Funny enough, by the Madrid media. Shocker, this one. Now, the claim is that Barcelona asked Robert Lewandowski not to score in the final 2 games of the 2022-23 season, which, of course, is the season when they won the title. Yeah. And they had already mathematically won the title.
Yeah.
But the story maintains that they played him and asked them not to score. Why, Jules?
Yeah, so there's a new book. It's a biography, not an autobiography, but a biography on Robert Lewandowski. I guess another one because there must have been some before. Where the writer of the biography says that to avoid paying a 2.5 million euros bonus to Bayern Munich, Barcelona,
which is part of the transfer fee.
Part of the transfer fee that when Lewandowski came, which happens in a lot of transfers, not just this one, but often you have bonuses and clauses in the contract that say you have to pay an extra 2 million, 5 million, 10 million if somebody wins the Ballon d'Or, score 25 goals in the league, this or that. And Lewandowski, according to the book, had reached already the 23 goals threshold.
Yeah.
So if he was going over that, so one more goal scored, then Barcelona would have had to pay the 2.5 million euros to Bayern Munich of that bonus that they didn't have and they didn't want to pay. So they said to Lewandowski, listen, great, you can play, but please don't score in those 2 games, which is a bit weird, I give you that, but happens in a lot of cases, more than I think people expect.
That a player agrees to play and not to.
So he played. To be fair, it would be fun to rewatch those 2 games and see if he has a chance and not score. He gave an assist in one of the 2 games, didn't score. Still finished top goal scorer with 23 goals. Benzema at 19 that season, and as you said, they'd won the league already.
I don't believe this story for 1 minute. For the simple reason is I cannot imagine. First of all, it conditions you as a player, as an athlete, especially as a center forward, to go out there and say like, oh, I'm going to play, but I'm going to go out of my way not to score. Second of all, if this story comes out, which obviously it's done now, but it's all, I'm sure Barcelona are going to deny it. If the story comes out, you are actually violating the integrity of the league because
absolutely of the game. Yeah.
I don't remember who those 2 games were against, but it could well be that they had they had things to play for as well.
Definitely.
It might seem plausible. What would have seemed more plausible to me is if they go to Lewandowski and say, listen, 2.5 million is what we owe Bayern if you play these last 2 games to score. We don't really care about them. So how about you pick up a phantom injury, don't play, and maybe of that 2.5 million, we'll give half of it to you because we'd rather give it to you than pay it all. You say we save ourselves some money.
I mean, remember when Atletico Madrid had Griezmann who could only play a certain amount of minutes and games, otherwise they would have had to pay Barca a bonus. Things like that happen, but this case, in the Griezmann case, it hurts your team.
Yeah, because that's your agreement.
Not the league so much.
Yes, exactly. Here, it affects the other teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the Griezmann one, that's out in the public arena.
Yeah.
This just smells really, really fishy to me. And if this is proven, if Lewandowski comes out and says, yeah, this actually happened, I think they have to be very careful because there's other clubs that could file complaints here.
FIFA announced an expedited visa process for fans traveling to the 2026 World Cup, Gab, after Gianni Infantino visited the White House for the 10th millionth time with Cristiano, by the way, when the Saudis went over.
That's right. Well, look, it was very fitting that he'd be there when Mohammed bin Salman...
his friend as well. They were between friends.
They're all buddies.
Yeah.
This visa question is a big, big question because obviously in Russia and Qatar, if you bought a ticket to the World Cup, no matter where you were from, it acted like your visa, subject to background checks. And it was a big question, given a lot of the political debate in the U.S. about, well, wait, what are we going to do here? What if somebody, buys a ticket to the World Cup and uses it as a way of them becoming an undocumented, staying over? I think in the end, this is a W for Infantino. They will do background checks. You have to have this guarantee. It is a World Cup, right? They're going to have background checks to see if somebody has, but they had background checks in Qatar and Russia as well. So let's not pretend like it was an automatic thing. So I think it's good news that this has come out and it's expedited. So it's not the kind of thing where, it goes into the bureaucrats and like, oh yeah, we'll let you know in November. Jules, at that same meeting, U.S. President Donald Trump reiterated that if he deems it necessary, he will move games out of World Cup venues. He did this in front of Johnny.
Yeah.
And so we assume Johnny's like, haha.
Yeah. Can we just stop with this, please? They are host cities. They will stay the host cities. There's no problems in those cities. Everything will be safe. There will be no issues whatsoever. It's not because they have a Democrat governor or mayor or whatever you want to say, or communist or liberal, like you said about Seattle. that we should take away the World Cup games that they are having. We are 6 months before the World Cup, pretty much. We're mid-November, it's mid-June. So let's just keep the focus on organizing the one of the best World Cups ever. Make sure that everything goes well everywhere. It's quite exciting. Teams are qualifying. Fans are booking their flights, hoping to get tickets. We are booking all the stuff here at ESPN to cover it. It's the best way we can. Everybody's getting excited. Don't throw me those things.
But this is an issue because I think he makes it an issue.
Yeah.
Look, more than one thing can be true. FIFA do not rule the world. And the host nation ultimately has to have the say over security. True. Nobody is taking this away. And it's the same thing in Russia, in Qatar. If there's a flood, if there's gang violence, whatever, if the Qatari authorities or the Russian authorities or the Brazilian authorities, whatever, in past World Cups had said, hey, it's unsafe to play here, we're moving, they get to decide. It's their country. Yeah. Okay. So nobody's taking that away. When you use it as a lever to go and, suggest that you may punish people, that's not a bad look, and it embarrasses. Yeah, it embarrasses Johnny.
Everybody.
That's simple as. But he puts himself in that position.
Yeah. Liverpool have reportedly pulled out of talks to acquire Getafe in Spain, though Michael Edwards, the head of football,
I think he's the chief football officer's title. Maybe
insists that a multi-club strategy still makes sense for them.
Yeah, I think when you're a numbers guy like Edwards is, then you love the flexibility that it gives you. Personally, my views on multi-club strategies, multi-club ownership. Very few cases where it actually works the way it should. There are some, Watford and Udinese. Some people might even say Strasbourg are better run than Chelsea.
Yeah, for now that's working.
Yeah, if you have really smart people doing it, and Edwards is obviously very, very smart, then maybe it'll work better. But Getafe, it was not a good fit. The culture of the team, the style of the team, really, really at odds with Liverpool. I mean, really at odds with Liverpool. On top of that, the asking price is supposedly 160 million. 160 million for what? For some concrete bowl on the outskirts of Madrid with a few thousand people in it? No. You could have done a lot better than that. And if they do acquire a team, and they've been linked with Malaga in the past, again, I don't think Malaga would have been the right fit either. Linked with Bordeaux back in the day when
that's true.
Given Bordeaux's difficulties.
It's difficult, yeah.
But yeah, this isn't it.